Okay, good afternoon, everyone. You are welcome to this session. So it appears the chair of this session is actually not around yet. So, but it's time for the sessions to start, and we have to stick to that time so that we can finish on time for the next session to start. So I will just call on how many presenters are around? Okay, 3. They are 1, 2, 3. There are 5, and so we have 3 on ground, 1 person online. So I'll just on the first person. Please, if you're the first to present, are you ready?
Good afternoon, everyone. Joshua Sunday and entire Sweeney. I'm presenting on political discourse and otherness. 2023 Nigeria election debate on Facebook. Nigeria has been experiencing election over the years. 2023 election is another national election that's witnessed, and there's a lot of uniqueness about it, considering the participation and the campaign strategy that makes it a bit unique. We see a lot of participation from the youth this time around, which seems to be a little bit better than we used to have. Although some scholars have argued that even when we claim that there are more participation, the representation in terms of election does not support that, because we do not have as many youth in the corridor of power as were in terms of election. The last election see to the fact that we have different mantra, different slogan. We have the obedience slogan, we have the Milokan slogan, and the articulate, and so on and so forth. So to the extent that the last election see a lot of the ethnic emotionally, influenced form, and there's a lot of decisive electoral context. Asan 2023 said that the 2023 election has been perceived and described as ethnic politics because of a lot of ethnic coloration that we experience as to whether it should go to the south, whether it should go to the north, or when we talk about the south, should it be the Yoruba or the Igbo? There's the Igbo agitation that for years, Igbo has not been in the corridor of power. Why not give it to them? Yoruba has been there for long. So this kind of agitation caused a lot of division. And in this work, I'm looking at the linguistic aspect to how the debate is going on the social media, Facebook. As we see that social media contribute a lot this time around, perhaps because of the influence of the youth who are more active on the social media than even in the surface. So we see that there is ethnic otherness. When I started this work, that is what I say that pervade the discourse. There's ethnic otherness. What do I mean by otherness? Otherness, by my own definition, means others that do not belong to us. So we have 2 groups now, what some have described as the in and the out group. If you belong to my party, for instance, you are in. If you do not belong, you are out. So you are out group. So those that we refer to as out group here is what I refer to as otherness in the discourse. So I see you, if you do not belong to my ethnic group, as others. And the danger of that is the ethnic bigotry, political hatred, social disharmony, lack of trust among ourselves. And if you look at literature, shows that people have interrogated political discourse from this different perspective. And we have seen that, yes, this political disharmony polarizes our community, the society, to the extent that creating argument that leads to even conflict in the physical. A lot of argument in that in the literature on that. But in this case, I want to look at the dimension of otherness in the discourse on Facebook. How are these achieved and sustained? With the choice of words, because I'm looking at it from linguistic perspective, what are the words that people are using? How are they using those words to sustain otherness in social media discourse? So those are the questions I want to interrogate. How is otherness achieved and sustained in the discourse? What are the dimensions of otherness and what are the implications of this for our society? Now, I have chosen a stance-taking theory of Highland 2005. That's the theory I'm anchoring on. Stance-taking as a theory shows promotes individuals' point of view in discourse. So I can have my own point of view. And how do they do this? Highland says there are three components: evidentiality, where individuals sustain with argument, provide evidence to whatever point they are making. There's affect. The affect shows that individuals that want to make a point of view tends to attach attitude, emotion to it, to whip sentiment such that people will agree with whatever they are saying. And lastly, the presence. How feasible is that character the participant is in that discourse? And there are four categories of analytical stances. The booster, the one you use to boost other participants in order to encourage them so that they feel good, they feel good. And then there's hedging. Hedging here is a situation whereby you abstain from what you are saying. You do not want people to say you ascribe it to others. This is what others are saying in the society. Then attitude marker, mark attitude of other participants. What do they do? Then explicit self-mention. There are situations where you say, yes, I said it. I am the one that's saying this, so you express it. Now, I collected my data looking at the the Facebook page of those are categorized as the three major actors in the presidential election. The APC candidate, presumably because the party is the party in power then, has some popularity than the others. The articulate, that Atiku Abubakar page on Facebook, because this presumably also is the opposition party. So it seems to have to get more followers than the obedient. That's Obi presidential movement on Facebook. Those three are the three. And now, how do I collect my data? I collected my data from the comment section, where others come. Whether you belong to obedient movement or not, you are free to go to there as a member of Facebook platform to make your comment. Whether you belong to Asiwaju or whatever, you go there. So I streamlined these periodizations between August 2022 and May 2023. This is period where I believe that the election campaign was very heat, and because there's an agitation towards the election. So my data shows that there are two dimensions of otherness. There's political otherness, those who belong to party A and see others as others. Of course, we know there are 18 presidential candidates in the last election, but if Asiwaju is my own, the remaining 17 are others. So then there is ethnic otherness. If I'm Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Fufude, Igala, whatever you are, there are others, irrespective of the number. So I identify some discursive strategies that are used to sustain this argument. One of it is nomination. Nomination is a situation whereby you refer to somebody by his or her given name. It could be formal, it could be informal. When we talk about formal now, if it is human, we are talking about their surname, the last name. Or if it is informal, any other name, it could be nickname, it could be their first name, it could be their middle name. When you use that in a discourse to refer to somebody, you are creating otherness through nomination. The first example I want to cite is say, all those northerners around you are just liars. They are just after your money, most especially those from Kano. Now you see nomination there, northerners. And there is an adjective that was used before it to show that I'm not part of them, those northerners. This is an evidence as islanders,
expanded, that you give evidence to show that this is the person you are talking about. I am not hiding any information. Categorically, he has nominated the Northerners as others who do not belong to them. And it's even asserting that by saying those people from Kano, to show that they are the one that they, and use the word liars, said they are liars. You can see how he has referred to them derogatorily, using profane language. And you can see that he detached himself. He didn't put himself there. That's edging. He has edged out. I'm not, that's why he has not been using anything that we ascribe it to him or herself. The second one says Peter Obi is the one I have seen fit for the opposition, for the position, especially now to salvage the retarded economy we have. Peter Obi is nominated here. Looking at Peter Obi as the solution to the situation that we have. Thank you so much. And so there are a lot of nomination here. We have Peter, we have nomination of Atiku, we have nomination of Northerners, we have the Musa Council, we have the nomination of Tinubu, saying Tinubu as this Messiah by somebody. And when they say that, what they are saying is all other candidates cannot do anything. So don't, in other words, don't vote for them. Sorry. Then there's pronominalization. In pronominalization, discourse participants make use of pronouns. Instead of mentioning them, they keep on using pronouns. And I'm going to cite the example. Are you talking? Okay, sorry. So let's talk about Wiki, which you want to make it, if you want to make it a tribal thing. So one man's action is based on his tribe. You guys can, no, making use of the word you is a second person pronoun here. When you use that pronoun, you are not part of it. You have created others by saying this. So you want to create ethnic issue? You want us to discuss ethnic issue? Let's go there. It is you now, I'm not part of that ethnic, and that is otherness in that discourse. Then there's the use of metaphor. When you use metaphor, you use a direct link with two different characteristics, but you bring one, you import one idea into the other. He said Jagaban is the answer to Nigeria's situations. Now conceptualizing Jagaban as the solution. You know, Jagaban has the characteristics of human being. Solution is another thing which is not even human. It is a metaphysical something, but now it's now giving it that attribute, calling Jagaban the solution. By the time you say that, you say, okay, that person is so. Others are not solution, they are possibly a failure, quote unquote. He said, Aisha said, voting for Peter Obi is not voting for Igbo people. It is voting for competence. Now, Peter Obi is now competence. That's metaphorical. And what he's trying to do there is that others are not competent. This is also another evidence. But if you look at all this, trying to detach himself through hedging. Profanity, finally. Profanity is the use of foul language, use of obscene, unprintable words to describe others. He said, any core Northerners that know himself very well and need this country to transform will definitely vote for Asiwaju Tinubu, but only fools in the North and their types that are against Jagaban candidacy. Fools. Can you refer to others as fools? That's profanity, insulting them, threatening their face, their self-public image, irrespective of who they are, whether not even minding our honorific culture that we have in our society. We refer to that. There are other examples of that. What is the implication of this? I said ethnic otherness is achieved, using nomination, pronomination, and all of that. What does this mean for our society? Create polarization, polarize the society further, and boost what we have been experiencing. Political disharmony, ethnic disharmony, because by the time you refer to my ethnic group as fools, use profanity against my ethnic group, I can't be happy. There's no way I will be happy. Saying you insulting my, my cultural background, my heritage, I won't be happy. So, and the reason why we need to be careful of this, we need to be sensitive because, remember the case of the genotype in Rwanda started, the role of the media was there. The NSAS started on the social media. We need to be careful of all these things we are using in the social media, considering the fact that they are capable of coming translated into what we have in our real society. because the choice of word we use on the social media, if care is not taken, by the time we come into the real life, we begin to, we can see let loose, lead to issue in the society. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because I'd like to confirm if the chair is here now. Okay. Okay, so we'll just continue. So I think it'd be best if everybody presents, and then afterwards we can go into question and answers. So I did mention at first, we're supposed to have 5 presenters. Okay. So it's 15 minutes for each presenter. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Ayodele. Can you hear us?
Yeah, good morning.
Okay, you can go ahead. It's your turn.
Good afternoon, rather. All right. Am I allowed to share my screen?
Yeah, please. You're allowed.
Hello?
Yes, you're allowed.
All right, thank you. All right, just a minute, please. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yanolua Ayodele. I'm from Baba University, and it's good to be here. So my topic is voting technologies, cyber attacks, and electoral fraud in Nigeria. And we're taking the lessons from 2019 and 2023 general elections in Nigeria. All right. So, like we all know that when it comes to elections in Nigeria, they are very sacrosanct or in general, and it gives us the opportunity to elect leaders at intervals based on the different choice of the Nigerian electorate. Unfortunately, in time immemorial, we've seen that Nigeria's elections have always been marred with various irregularities and electoral fraud, and this has affected the electoral process in Nigeria. But over time, with the introduction of technology to the electoral process in Nigeria, we saw some level of sanity, particularly tracing it down from the 2003 general elections. So, although voting technologies also have their own issues and can also be used against the system. And when we look at the recent culture of technological development with cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, machine learning, these are provided a well-structured ground for deployment of voting technologies also, but then they also have their own cons at the end of the day. So when we look at voting technologies in Nigeria, it did not come into full play not until the Fourth Republic. As at 1999, the manual system was still in place without any manual competition. In 2003, we saw the introduction of computerization where we had the OMR forms, AFIS, and the temporary voters card. In 2007, there was the introduction of the direct data capturing machine, which was used for data capturing and storage of voters. In year 2015, we saw the introduction of smart card reader and biometric technology, and also the introduction of the IVs and the permanent voters card. Interestingly, by 2022, the system had evolved and developed better, and kudos to the Electoral Act. We were able to see the introduction of biometric voter accreditation system, which is known as BVAS, IREV, and IVID also. All of these are channeled towards ensuring Nigeria supports electoral integrity and the electoral process. Quickly, let's look at the Electoral Act of 2022 and voting technology. Upon the arrival of President Buhari's administration by 2015, and by 2019, he was able to come up with ideas to evolve the Electoral Act of Nigeria. Before 2022, the Electoral Act was last implemented in 2010. And the Electoral Act also brought into dimension the use of voting technologies, which is what we have seen in the last years, and the last 2 years in Nigeria in particular. The Electoral Act also does not disregard the actual process of manual recordings and manual process. Rather, it provides for electronic transmission of results. With the introduction of BVAS IREV, upon the use, it still helps to bring accountability to the process, which means that whatever that you have done manually should be transmitted online for backups and also for correspondence in checking of results and processes at the end of the day. The electoral also introduced voting technologies to ensure that if there's any form of dispute, you can easily go back to the electronically transmitted result for resolve, which means that even if you have doctored the manual inputs that you already have, that online would be protected, and then you can use it to verify your information. And the electoral also ensured that the process starts from the polling unit on to the INEC server for final collection at the end of the day. So voting technology is very important in elections in Nigeria. Then moving on to the next slide, this is just a diagram to illustrate how transfer of votes, transfer of results from the polling unit to the last unit is centered around. But now let's come to cybersecurity and elections in Nigeria. When you look at Nigeria's cybersecurity policy, the document recognizes the cyberspace as a major domain. In fact, it's the fifth domain for Nigeria because the cyberspace is no longer just for basic things. It's been evolved to be used for cyber warfare, cyber espionage, cyber diplomacy, and all manner of things now. And interestingly, Nigeria is also a leading connected nation in Africa, one of the largest internet users in Africa. And then that has made us susceptible to a lot of cyber attacks. Now, when you look at it from the angle of voting technologies now, it means that from our smart card readers to our beavers to our IREVs, since they are domiciled on cloud, with the introduction of machine learning, artificial intelligence, these systems can be attacked without even being manually present at the point of call or at the point of entry for them. So in Nigeria, elections are strongly linked to our national security, because when you look at the idea of national security in Nigeria, it speaks about the safety, security of the Nigerian state across board. So cyber security cannot be undermined when it comes to elections in Nigeria, particularly now that we are deploying various voters technology. Also, the National Cybersecurity Policy and Strategy recognizes election interference as one of the threats to Nigeria's national security itself. And this can come from either state or non-state actors. So when you take a look at the cybersecurity strategy, election interference is a major threat to Nigeria, particularly because we now understand that the use of voting technologies gives us, makes us susceptible to attacks, either from state actors or non-state actors, which we have seen at different points in time from 2019 to 2023. We've seen electoral interference from within Nigeria and also from outside Nigeria now. All right, so let's look at voting technologies in Nigeria now. The idea of voting technology in Nigeria is to ensure that electoral integrity and credibility of the process is secured and recognized. Since before 1999, we've seen electoral malpractices in Nigeria across board. 1999 also, up to 2003, 2007, Nigeria has been marred a lot of electoral processes, ballot snatching, ballot paper reading, electoral violence, and all of these things. But then, with the introduction of electoral voting technologies, it would help push our electoral system to a credible point and also guarantee electoral integrity, which means that no one can alter the system. It's not done manually. So the system protects you. There are backups for data. We've seen cases whereby INEC offices are burnt down, ballot papers are snatched or destroyed. But once there's a use of electoral technology, voting technology, as the case may be, it helps protect the integrity of our elections and also the credibility of our system now. When it comes to elections, we know that it's centered around data, and data in form of numbers of voters, edited votes, numbers of votes casted, and all of that now. So with the introduction of technology, the use of beavers, IREV, and all of those things now, it protects the system in that way that you cannot have a different number from what you have on paper and what you have on system, because whatever you are putting online or in the cloud originates from your manual computation. And that way, if there's any discrepancy, the online system will be able to note that at the end of the day. Then also, the coordinated attacks when it comes to voting technologies are started at the point of registration to the collation of results. From the point of registration, what I mean is that we've seen instances whereby systems was attacked, where we have multiple voters registration, underage registration, and a host of others. Now, even though the voting technology is supposed to protect us from all of those things, we've seen a case whereby a certain election result was uploaded. When you go back to check, the election result has been tampered with or is no longer there. Or we've seen a case whereby the numbers are inflated. So on Form EC8, what you have is, let's say, 30 votes. By the time you check online, somebody must have tampered with it to have seen probably 500 or 200 at the end of the day. Then lastly, under here, INEC has been able to put up a strong structure, although not strong enough. Interestingly, the last two elections in Nigeria have shown that the INEC does not have, or the cyber security department does not have the strong capability to undo multiple coordinated attacks at the same time. On election day, by the time we get to my next slide, you see that there were multiple attacks on the IREV, on the beavers, on the server. And because the capacity of INEC does not give them the chance to attend to all of these issues, at the same time, we don't have enough hands, capable hands. There are not a lot of resources, even though every election cycle we budget over 100 million naira for election system security and all of that. But that has not been materialistic when it comes to voting technologies in Nigeria. All right. So when you look at cybersecurity attacks in Nigeria, taking the lesson from 2019 and 2023 elections, the goal of the cyber attacks is to on the electoral infrastructure, which would undermine the process, and that gives room for electoral fraud. Once you are able to get into the system, it means that you are going to have the opportunity to input whatever numbers or turn around the vote as you want it to be. And that has been a major problem for us with voting technologies here in Nigeria. In year 2019, we had over 84 million registered voters, and in 2023, there are over 96 million voters, and that's a large number of electorates. And with the system of INEC not being capable enough, data breach are going to be expected. And with data breach happening, it means that the credibility of that election cannot be guaranteed, and that affects electoral integrity of any election, as the case may be. In year 2019, we saw prevalent issues around attacks on infrastructure such as card readers, multiple duplication of voters registration caused by malwares, which were intentionally uploaded into the INEC servers and system. And also we saw disruption of transfer of results from the centers to the central servers at the end of the day, which ensures that the numbers that we were having at some point could not have been the actual numbers of the electorate at the point of voting and all of that now. And all of this just pushes us towards a strong reality that even though voting technologies are evolving and important in Nigeria, we still need to push more to ensure that we discourage cyber attacks and electoral fraud, which can only be done when we have a strong and secure system around that. In the last general election, we saw over 30 million cyber attacks during the election cycle. And on the day of election, there were 6.9 million on election day alone. And this speaks volume, because if Nigeria is having 30 million cyber attacks in an election cycle, and on the day of election, 6 million, it shows that the Nigerian electoral system has fully not evolved to the use of voting technology, even though it is needed. And I believe that if we pay more attention, study the system, the structure, we'll be able to come out of this better. And this not to say that with voting technologies, it's going to help guarantee our elections to be credible, ensures that we have electoral integrity, which also in turn gets the support of the citizens to trust our electoral process. In conclusion, and my recommendation, voting technologies are needed to ensure electoral integrity and also to ensure credible elections. We need them, and as time goes on, we will evolve, we would get the system better, and then we'll be able to guarantee that Nigeria can conduct a free and fair election without the fear of any form of electoral malpractice. Also, I believe that there must be a deliberate and continuous upgrade of our system, our policies and structures as regards our voting technologies. We must continue to evolve. We must continue to come up with solutions and ideas. Whether we like it or not, it is bound for us to have challenges and issues around these voting technologies. But as with time, it will get better. Also, INEC must ensure that there's an expansion of its an upgrade of security, cyber security team or system. And also, we must ensure that there's a periodic test run of our system before and after elections. Oftentimes, month to election before we do test run and all of that. And that way we can be able to see the bugs, the loopholes, and the back ends that needs to be closed up. And even after election, there must be post-election cleanup of our system, because sometimes when there's post-election cleanup, you can easily detect where there's an issue. That's why we discovered that once people go to tribunal, for example, they're always banking on INEX data. This data was false or was not true, and
Okay, Mr. Ayodele, can you hear us?
yes, sorry, I think I lost my connection a bit.
Yes, yes. I believe you have already concluded on your work.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The next presenter, please, you can take the stage.
Sure. I can hear you. Yeah, just pushing the table. Capture the voice. Using the presentation mode. Yeah, good afternoon. My name is David Olusunjo, and I'm a PhD student at Florida International University. And my topic is Nigerian electoral black markets, assessing the impact of vote buying on voter turnout in 2023 general elections. Next slide, please. So the first question is, why did 2023 election instead of 2019 election or other previous elections we had in the past? So according to the European Union Election Observation Monitoring Group, Nigerian report on 2023 general elections, it's argued that stakeholders noted an increase in intimidation and vote buying strategies compared to previous elections, suggesting this was a deliberate move to support the tightening of the electoral process after the introduction of new technology. Aside from that, the Center for Democracy and Development raised concerns over the credibility of 2023 election, citing alleged public sale of votes, violence, and intimidation. So that means like 2023 election had like an increased electoral buying or a record of voter intimidation during the last election compared to the previous election we had since our democratic process started in 1989. So this election, the 2023 election took place against the backdrop of deepening economic crisis, with rising unemployment and poverty rates, with high inflation and prevailing fuel scarcity across the country. Also, the 2023 general election had the lowest voter turnout in the history of Nigeria's democratic election, despite increased vote buying. So the 2023 general election were seventh since the restoration of civilian rule in 1989, and second after a completed second term of presidency. So my methodology. So this study adopts a qualitative research method, specifically the participant interview. So I collected qualitative data from 10 anonymized voters in 2023 general election, which held at the capital of Lagos, Nigeria. So I conducted the interview on 20th of June 2024. Besides that, this study quality adopts a second data from online newspaper and online reports or news. So what is my research question? So I'm trying to ask the question, despite the increased vote buying, does this vote buying lead to higher turnouts or turnout in the last general elections? So that is my research question. So my main argument, so I'm trying to argue that vote buying and selling is consistent with the continuing materialization and commercialization of party politics in Nigeria and reduced turnout due to lack of trust or confidence in the election. Besides that, vote buying compromises the quality of public leadership by putting mediocre people and rogues into power. So when I conducted the interview, I asked two main questions, and that's like answer my research questions. So the first question I asked, I posed to the respondents is that in 2023 national election, was there evidence of votes or turnout buying? So I tried to clarify the question to given the level of education, because I interviewed different people with different economic strata and educational backgrounds. So I tried to clarify the question, what I meant by vote buying. So vote and turnout buying refers to the distribution of money or gifts to individuals, families, or small groups in order to influence their decision to vote or not to vote, for whom to vote for. So it does not include legislation targeted at specific constituencies that vote buying legislation. So the second question I asked my respondents is that in the last general election, that is the 2023 election, was there evidence of other intentional irregularities by incumbents or opposition parties and or vote fraud? I tried to clarify the question. Example include use of double IDs, intentional lack of voting materials, ballot stuffing, misreporting of votes, and forced collation of votes. This question does not refer to lack of access to registration, harassment of opposition parties, manipulation of the vote registry, or votes buying. To the next slide, please. So vote buying in Nigeria has been part of Nigerian electoral history, especially since the return of democracy in 1999. But it has assumed a more glaring dimensions in the recent elections. Besides that, vote buying occurs at two important stages of the electoral process. First, the delegate level, and second, at the electorate level. So at delegate level, the transaction is between a party delegate and a politician who is buying for a party ticket to run for an election. For instance, during the electoral process in the last Nigerian election, there were reports, but not confirmed, that the PDP kind of gave someone delegate about $15,000, was not confirmed yet. There were just reports and yeses that the PDP gave about $15,000 to each to each delegate for votes. That skewed the outcome with the primary election. So just some reports. Also, vote buying study takes place at the electorate level. So it is between a voter and a political party which is seeking to win in an election. So besides that, NFOD has, laws and policies put in place not to curtail, the increase of vote buying in Nigerian election. So I thought of this, sort from, just to get some policies put in place not to curtail or to address the menace of vote buying in Nigerian election. So INEC consider vote buying as paying money to any other person for bribery at any election, irrespective of whether it's primary or electorate election. So INEC had a penalty for, so according to INEC, on conviction to a maximum fine of 500,000 or 12 months imprisonment for both, so that is the punishment for engaging in vote buying according to INEC. Also, receiving any money or gifts for money to vote or to refrain from voting at any election. So the punishment for that is a maximum of 500,000 or imprisonment for 12 months for votes. Like INEC policies or policies put in place to address the issue of vote buying in Nigerian election. The next slide, please. So according to this data from International Institute for Electoral Assistance, so this data shows like the level of voter turnout in Nigerian elections since we started like taking election in the history of our electoral democracy. So if you observe this data closely, you will notice that the last election that was held had like the lowest compared to previous election we had in the past. It had like about 26.7% voter turnout. And despite the report of increased voters and turnout of vote buying, according to the European Union Election Observers Monitoring Group. So just like the outcome, we had recorded the lowest turnout in history of our election again. So the impact of vote buying on voters' turnouts. So exposure to vote buying uniquely undermines confidence in elections. Besides that, vote buying undermines a core purpose of our democratic elections, allowing citizens to fairly and freely select, reward, and punish representatives. Also, good for vote exchange are evidence that elections lack integrity, according to people knowledge, a professor at Harvard University. So based on the interview I conducted, some of the data I got from my respondents, so the first respondent argued that, based on their experience, based on the question I posed to them, so just reading out, lack of trust and vote buying makes this country to be in this condition. There's no party that does not distribute money during the elections. Elections have been monetized, and it has been happening for long. In the 2023 election, I was approached to vote for a certain political party, to be sincere. I voted for our local one because he's a Yoruba person like me. Most of my friends collected money but did not go to votes. That is the first response I got from my first respondents. So according to the second respondents, it's kind of like argue that vote buying is a part of Nigerian system. And if you don't buy votes, you will not go to the office. Gifts such as Indomie packets are given. I am from Edo State, but we don't often collect money. Here in Lagos, it happens a lot. Vote buying is one of the reasons Nigeria is not growing. And it will not go until the present crop of leaders have gone. That is why Peter Obi was not elected. It's only when the economy is better, that is when vote buying can be reduced. So a bag of rice is now almost 100,000 naira. One person will bring 2 bags of rice and they will vote for that person. If government resolve economic issue, it will help. So that is second response I got from my second respondents based on the interview I conducted. So according to my third respondent, vote buying has become our trademark in Nigeria. It is not what we can change easily. I'm not satisfied with the election. Only God can save us. In 2023 election, I did not experience vote buying directly. I just went to vote and returned to my house. To resolve vote buying issue, the youth should have a rethink. The level of the poverty is increasing vote buying. And lastly, from one of my respondents, vote buying was created. Not automatic, it was created. The atmosphere of vote buying was created, and it has become a tradition that Nigeria would struggle to overcome. Vote buying is a threat to democracy. Social media has accentuated vote buying in Nigeria. There is no solution to the issue of vote buying in Nigeria. That is the response I got from my fourth respondents. There is no solution. They're so pessimistic about the Nigerian condition. So based on the second source, I use both qualitative method interview and secondary sources. So votes were being traded for between 1,000 to 20,000 to 2,000 naira in part of Edo and Benue State, for example, with goods of similar values used in many cases in lieu of cash, given the continuing currency shortage. Across the region, manifestation of vote buying included the use of fabrics, toiletries, IOU vouchers, and food items. In the southeast, there are reports of Habga and LP party agents using materials, phones, and other surveillance to entice voters in a number of states' elections. So based on the result of my interview and my data, I observed that, as I said earlier, that The Nigerian election, the last general election we had, that was like the lowest we recorded in the history of our democracy. So aside from the fact that vote buying did not lead to increased voter turnout, because we report that the last election had the highest number of vote buying we had in the history of our country, and we had the lowest turnout despite this. So based on my interview, it shows that vote buying had a negative impact, and it does not lead to a higher turnout in the election. So recommendation. So the National Assembly should get out of its usual indolence and pay attention to critical issues of national importance, such as the speedy consideration of the proposed bill on the commission and tribunal. And secondly, Nigerians should see rather unfortunate phenomenon of vote buying as a very critical impediment to genuine democratic consolidation. And aside from that, another recommendation can suggest is that the punishment for vote buying, both the seller and the buyer of vote buying, should be increased, not just the 500,000 and 12 month imprisonment, perhaps should increase to 5 million naira, and the imprisonment should be for 5 years. So it's going to deter people from engaging in vote buying. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. We'll call on the next presenter to take the stage.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Anne. I'm saying slightly. Once again, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Rebecca Sarum from BCG University Ibadan. And the title of my paper presentation is Navigating the Group Think. Okay. Navigating the Group Think Syndrome in the Aftermath of the 2023 presidential election. Perspective from Atiku and Obi supporters. Okay, after the 2023 election, there was strong argument on who won the election. Both the APC, both the PDP and the Labour Party continue to believe that they have a very strong belief that they won the election, even though INEC have already pronounced the winner of the election, which is APC. But these two candidates believe that the election was actually rigged by the winning party, by INEC. So this argument continued for a period of time till September 6, 2023. And looking at it, it is obvious that this argument was actually influenced by the supporters of these candidates. And these supporters were of very strong belief that their candidates were the one that won the election. And this belief by the supporters is known as what I coined as the groupthink syndrome. So the objective of this study is one is to examine the extent to which groupthink influenced the perception of victory among Atiku supporters. The second one was also to assess the impact of groupthink on the perspective of Peter Obi supporters regarding the election outcome. And finally, to identify the factors that may have contributed to the development and persistence of both among both sets of supporters. Like I said, in order for us to be able to, or more understanding of this study adopts two theories, which is known as the social identity theory and the rational choice theory. These two theories was able to explain or offer further understanding on how, or give us a framework, or let us understand how groups may actually influence the idea of war, influence the perception or influence the behavior of the person. So because of the time frame of this study, because this study was within February 25th, 2023 to September 25th, 2023. So because of the time frame, this study adopted the content analysis. Content analysis for both the newspaper, different interview held by different TV stations, social media, and so on. Editorial work and so on. So they find based on this they find based on these different the content that was analyzed from this different interviews, social media, and so on. The findings of the study shows that the group has actually influenced the way or the outcome of people of the party, both the PDP and the APC party candidates on how on their belief on winning the election. Also, the finding emphasized the need for the media literacy and critical thinking education to empower individuals to critically evaluate information and engage in open evidence based on political discourses. And lastly, in order to avoid negative effects of groupthink and foster a more democratic discourse in Nigeria, scholars emphasizes the importance of inclusive leadership that encourage national judgment. So based on this findings, this study recommends that political parties should encourage a culture of transparency and accountability to make sure that their decisions and these are in line with democratic ideas. And also, lastly, policymakers can assist in rewarding such behavior by enhancing laws and regulations that foster moral and inclusive political activities. Thank you. Continue that. They didn't close, like.
Since our chief questions, recommendations, suggestions, feedbacks, and yeah, we got the translation that number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 questions. So number 1 can go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stella Mibanji. I'm a journalist and an independent scholar. Mine, life is a question now. Okay, I just want to ask you, how do you come about the word group think? That's one. Then for my brother here, I think we've discussed, and he's going to add it. You need to add to what you've just given to us. Election is not all about money. The place I supervised during the last election, it was food buying, not money. They didn't buy the vote with money. They bought the vote with food. I think for your recommendation as well, government need to look into not allowing food in voting premises. They can go and eat outside, far away from the center where they are voting. But when you bring food closer, that is food buying. Somebody will buy the food and give you and tell you to go and vote for my candidate. Thank you. Next. Thank you, sir.
Well, thanks to all the presenters for your papers. The chair is who I want to direct my question to. Sorry about my voice. The scope of your interviewees is the question I have. You'll reach a number of conclusions, and I'm wondering whether the number of folks you talk to, is sufficient to be able to make those conclusions. And I'm asking this question against the backdrop of the fact that if you go by the number of registered voters, and those who eventually made it to the polling booths, I do think that talking to 10 people and then reaching certain grand conclusions does not happen. So I like to hear what you think about it. Otherwise, I'm recommending that this is something to rethink, in that sense. So that's for you. And then for Zit Adebayo, the online presenter. Yes, thank you again too for your presentation. I am also wondering whether we're not climbing the tree from the top with focusing on INEC and saying it has to do this, it has improved that, or there's technology in this and that. The truth is, there has to be a state before you can begin to talk about these issues. In my understanding of the Nigerian space, there's no state. The state is not there. Therefore, the whole effort towards introducing technology, I mean, for a state that is, completely dysfunctional, if it does exist at all as it is, any tool that you introduce to, other certain processes would only work towards further, problems. It's not going to address the real thing. So I don't see how the use of technology, enhances the, integrity of the process. Rather, what it does is to further harm those interested in offices, to do further damage. And we continue to see that, because, hey, primarily, the interest of these folks is not for anything, it's self-enrichment. And they will do just about it. So I guess to conclude, and I'll keep my mouth shut, I'm wondering whether you're also thinking about, the nature of states, their risks, and to what extent does it eventuate the malice of, electoral disaster that you're talking about. Otherwise, if you just keep talking about INEC, it would amount to that impossibility, climbing a tree from the top. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I want to congratulate all the presenters. You have shown a kind of mastery in your discipline, especially the structure of those works. The political discourse and otherness, the man that spoke first, you did very well. You have a command of your work. But I disagree with you at some point when you are trying to talk about the data that you use to conclude this work. Some of the data, most of the data are taken from comment section on Facebook. Most of those data might have been compromised because there are some people that are not even real on social media. So some people have been targeted towards giving some particular comments to be able to have a different view. So you should be very careful when you are using social media and comment section for your analysis as an historian, please. Then you said something about solutions. That they said this is the solution to the problem, and that's the solution. And you now said the solution are not even metaphysical. So that word, I don't know if I disagree with that word. So I want you to please address that metaphysical, what you mean by the solution. Then the other thing, all of this, Yanolua, you did very well. You used to be my colleague University of Lagos in those days. So, but I want to advise that, is it possible that you limit your scope of work to a particular state so that you can be able to achieve a robust research? Conceptualizing the work around, generalizing the work might give you so much problem. You might encounter a lot of problem because when you talk about voting technology, cyber attack, electoral fraud in Nigeria, this is a big, yes, this is a big All right, so it's a recommendation to him. Then moving forward, I want to talk about the last speaker. The structure of your work is very good as well. Then I want to know why your research stopped at September 2023. February 2023 is a very good starting point. But for that September, please, you can help us with that.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone.
Sorry, so that we don't have a lot of questions. I think the presenter should respond, then we can take another round.
So just
Let me chat.
Yeah, you have a lot of questions, so I think you should respond first. To go back to the questions.
I think it's good
wanted
to save time.
is to you might use the question to answer two or three of the questions. Yes. My question is, I'm Dr. Diallo Augusta from Lee City University. My question goes to the cyber security and voting technologies. He was saying that Nigeria is not ready for, there is a lot of cyber attack and all the rest of them. E-readiness of Nigeria towards e-voting. And I argued most of the attacks that happened they were intentional. Like, it could be not only that we are not ready, but a lot of other structures like Nigeria's structure and corruption, I guess, might be the major cause of those attacks and that happened during that period, and other people's, like some people's that want to be there, and majorly corruption. Then my second question goes to you said the vote buying. Now, the election was the least in the history of Nigeria, the turnout. Yes, my question is this. Those that were turned back as bullied, couldn't allow to vote. Like, there was a lot of attacks. They were ready. We were seeing them in televisions and all the rest. They were not allowed to vote because when you look at the registered voters, they were really much, and people were willing to vote. They were really ready. If you look at what happened in Rivers, I'm not giving exam, Lagos and other rest of the countries, and you see that people really wanted to vote, but they were not allowed to vote. So where will you place those ones when you consider that, when you are saying that the turnout was the least? I think maybe you should find a way to put it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think somebody has raised my own issue, one of the issues. 10 members of your sample, 10 cannot be used to arrive at any conclusion that can be generalized. Then you ask for solutions. I think the solutions are there, but it is just that Nigerians don't want to, our government, not Nigerians, the government does not want to make use of the solutions. One of them will be independence of the INEC. It is named independent, national, blah, blah, blah. Yet the chairman is not independent. The president should not appoint the chairman of INEC. The president should not appoint the chairman of INEC. Then somebody suggested academia. Using the academia, they have failed us in elections. The academia, the academics, the professors who were in charge of all the voting, whatever, they were the ones who compromised everything. They were the ones who were bought over, and their voting things were doctored. So I think everything should be left, not come in, let there be the INEC should be the people to select or appoint those who will organize and then carry out the elections. So another thing, independence of the judiciary. When a case goes to the court, let it be handled according to the law of the land. If not, no matter what we do, we still continue to go around the circle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A very quick one. Yeah, this discourse on Nigeria electoral black market. In legal maxim, it's not really a case of rep ipsa loquitur. And what I could deduce is that there is paucity of case studies to strengthen your work. that is assessing the impact of vote buying on voters' turnouts. So what case studies are you using in strengthening this work? So I think there is need to re-interrogate and to re-engage with scholarship in furthering this gap imbalance and process of research. Please, it's very, very important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma, for the question. You said what's why groupthink? Look at groupthink is a psychological phenomenon that has to do with members and people's attitude or behavior actually influenced by either a member of community or society. So that was why I got the groupthink concept from, because during that period of time you can see both the PDP and the Labour Party candidates, they keep going to courts believing that they won the election. And if you look at it all around social media, the way social media portray it and including their followers, it's they have the strong belief that they were the one that won the election, not until September 6th that the courts yes. So I wrote this paper after that. So that was for the other guy that asked me, why did you write this? Why was the paper between February 2020, February 23 to 2025? It was within that period of time. So I may still write something in the future, but my paper was just in between that period of time. Thank you.
September 6th was so that's yes, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, for my question, thank you so much for the question. I so much appreciate that. To answer the first question on like why did I interview 10 people and then generalize the outcome that is so insufficient and minuscule in nature? I mean, to start with about that, I have explored this research in a quantitative way, but given my audience and who I'm speaking to, or I mean, for Nigeria, within Nigerian context, there's no way I could have explored that research in a quantitative manner. But as political scientists, we are not really limited to using qualitative data, such as interview that I use. I could have used like dependent variable. I don't confound or inundate my audience with like dependent variable and using statistics and figures like further like make it complex for my audience. That's the reason why I adopt interview. But aside from that, for the interview, I could like explore interview as well, because we always have issue of insufficient cases, which is a normal problem in political science. I mean, even if you like interview 200 people, your cases are still not enough. So we only have the problem will always be there. They will have to like you can only make external validity. There's something called external validity. I mean, you can externalize your work, the outcome. I can make a research in Nigeria, then generalize to Africa. It's valid. So people can like probably like if a research gap, which other people can't exploit. So that's like for this first question.
So yeah, thank you for that answer. It can still present a problem of its own. And this is the point, like I said, I'm a literary scholar, so and I defer to you as a political scientist. But the question is, political scientists draw patterns. How would you draw pattern from 10 samples? I do. That's one. Two. Your again, what's your primary data? This is the interviews. Any other thing you do with the work is secondary. It's the primary data that you're interrogating. And if your primary data is so small, I am saying the pattern you want to draw, through which you want to reach certain conclusions, would be suspect. That's so we can have this conversation. I have okay.
I'm in political science.
So also for the question that I'm mentioning about voters turnout and why some people were sent back at the polling unit, I should probably account for those factors. I mean, the voter turnout, I didn't report that. I used like there are some non-profit organizations like they've been working for like years, for decades, and they have like turnout of each country like since 1940s and since the history of democratic process. So I took the data from them. So it's allowed in like, so I can account for like the reason why people were sent back at the polling unit, and so it's allowed within the field.
Thank you. Yes. You asked me questions? Yes.
I agree with you that there might have been an infiltration of social media, but that's where we have to be careful too, because whether it is invasion or infiltration, when I went there to read what is there, I do not know who put it there. What I see is those words were there, and what I'm saying is that it's capable of aggravating, conflict. So choice of words, we should be very careful when we use them. Second one, if I use the word metaphysical, it should be a slip of the tongue. I wanted to say abstract to concrete. So I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, your line. Okay, Janet, can we pose your question?
Okay. Mr. Ayodele, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Yes, I think I have about 3 questions from my end that I got clearly. All right. First of all, the question on readiness or whether we are ready for e-voting. When you look at the context of elections in Nigeria before 1999 in particular, it's manually done. And with manual elections, there are bound to be irregularities. This is not to say that with use of technology, there would not also be irregularities. But Nigeria has adopted the use of voting technologies. And we must acknowledge the fact that we are still in the developmental stage of using this technology. So I agree that they are going to be sabotaged, and these are one of the things I'm looking at. But then we can't actually say we are moving away from it. Rather, we only need to strengthen our system and our infrastructure to ensure that even though we had not gotten it as solid as we should, we would still be able to have credible elections, and that would ensure electoral integrity. Yes, of course, corruption can be a major reason for cyber attacks or electoral frauds. Of course, when you look at the system, like I said earlier, the majority of the systems we use for our electoral voting technology in Nigeria are not even homegrown. So access to whoever runs the system can be will mean that you can easily bribe the person. The person can tank the system or do otherwise, as the case may be. So of course, corruption can also affect the issue. Then the third question that I got from Mr. Shekoni, is good to see you again and hear from you. Of course, the advice that I should look at it in a particular context, yeah, it can work. Although I'm trying to look at the perspective of general elections in Nigeria generally, that would give me access to ruminate around. So in my data at the end of the day, I would still obviously use data from different states in Nigeria, not specifically a part of Nigeria. Of course, there are some places that the voting technologies worked very well. There was no issues. Results were collated and was corresponding with what was on the EC8. Whereas we had states, for example, in Osun State, where I live, during the Osun State governorship election, there were issues of numbers on EC8 not corresponding with what was put on the IREV at the end of the day. So I think your idea works at the end of the day for me also. Thank you. I don't think there's any other question that I missed. If there are any, please, I'm ready to take them.
All right. Thank you very much for session.